Good morning and welcome to your English 2 classroom. I wanted to talk to my remote learners this morning about what assignments you have to get done today, and also just a little bit about the week in general because this is the last week of the 6 weeks. So if you look at the agenda for the week, today you're going to do the collaborate and compare over these paired passages that we've been reading. So at this point, you should have read Texas versus Johnson majority opinion and American flag stands for tolerance and done pretty much all of the activities. If you go back and look at in the videos, I told you there were a couple of activities that you could skip. Um, I do want you to do the vocabulary, respond vocabulary, and I'm going to assign that today. I think there was one that I didn't assign. So anyway, you're going to do the collaborate and compare today. And tomorrow we're going to do the selection test and the response log. And then Wednesday you'll have class time for those of you that are in class to work on the essay. Those of you who are remote can start on the essay anytime you want. Well, everybody can start on the essay anytime you want. I will have a video in there by this afternoon with a little bit more instruction, but it does take you through step by step. So this is writing a personal essay using by any other name as a model. Write about something in your life of that had a significance to you and relates to our essential question: how do we engage with others while staying true to ourselves? So write about a time when you had to face that question: how do you engage with others while staying true to yourself? And then the unit test is on Thursday. That's 30 questions over the skills from this unit. You won't be tested again over the individual passages that we've read. You've already been tested over those. This will test the skills that you learned while reading those, okay? And then if we need to, we can carry that over to the next day and do any makeup work that's needed on Friday. So that's an overview of the week. Now let's get back to the assignment for today. So I'm just scrolling through these two paired passages that we've read. You should have completed this work. The respond, analyze the text. I will be grading this one very carefully, so make sure you did a good job on that one. And watch the video of me because I did the first one with you. I do want you to do the respond vocabulary with icon, dogma, and sanctity, and to answer these questions. So this is the first time we've had, yellow text boxes to answer questions about the vocabulary, but I do want you to complete these. Which do you consider more of an icon, a statue of a past national leader or a very popular musician? So this is an opinion question. Which do you consider more of an icon? So look at the definition of icon. You really need to open a Merriam-Webster tab and look up a good definition of icon so you can make an informed decision on that. Which do you think better exemplifies sanctity, a mayor being sworn into office or a solemn religious service? Again, that is your opinion, but you need to back it up with the definition and how that relates to the definition. Who is more attached to dogma, a politician who votes against everything or a parent who refuses to change your curfew? These are good questions for you to think about. They all have to do with the meanings of the word. And so what I mean by that is a parent who refuses to change your curfew and a politician who votes against everything both are adhering to dogma. But your question to think about and answer is which one is more dogmatic? Which one is adhering to dogma more? And you need to understand the definition to do that. Remember that the connotation of a word is a feeling or value associated with that word. In a prior video, I talked about the connotation attached to house and home, and how those two words have the same dictionary definition, but they have different connotations. Persuasive writers often use connotations to their advantage. Loaded language is an effort to appeal to emotions, so that pathos in our rhetorical strategies, and convince others to share an opinion. So you can finish reading that, but you don't have to do this activity. All right, moving on. You do not have to complete the language conventions one about the dash, but just make sure you read about the dash and understand how to use it. Now, the collaborate and compare. We're going to analyze the purpose and audience. While reading, you may have noted that in his editorial, Allen agrees with the Supreme Court's majority decision. In this way, the main opinions that are expressed in the text overlap. So, when I first looked at this, I really thought that it was going to be the Supreme Court decision that said that, flag burning is protected under the First Amendment as free speech and freedom to protest. And I thought that the editorial then would be the opposite opinion. But it turns out that they're both expressing the same opinion. The guy agreed, Mr. Allen agreed with the court decision. However, the two authors have different purposes in writing these pieces. One is a court decision and one is an editorial. So consider the different audiences that these pieces of writing were written for. And it says in a small group. If you're remote, it's hard to do a small group. But reread both texts to identify clues that indicate who the intended audience is and use your completed chart to draft a statement about the purpose and audience your group identified for each piece based on the clues. So, what I want you to do here is just identify the clues about the purpose and the clues about the audience and just decide who the audience is for this one and who the audience is for this one. And then you're going to answer these questions. What ideas are expressed in both the court opinion and the argument? Which selection's argument do you find more convincing and why? That's an opinion, but you do need facts and um, text evidence. So, what ideas are expressed in both the court opinion and the argument? You need to reread to figure that out. Okay. And then, which selection do you find more convincing and why? Does one author seem more credible than the other and why? So you might want to look at, one of them is a Supreme Court justice, and the other is you might want to look back and see what his credentials are. Look at the introduction and see who he is. Is he just an average Joe off the street, or does he have some credibility in this area? And then arguments about the First Amendment are ongoing. Of course they are. Name a recent event that caused a debate about people's rights. I can't think of a time, and this textbook's been out for a while, like I said in a previous video. I can't think of a time where this question would be probably easier for you to come up with an example, okay? Unless you just don't watch the news at all. Name a recent event that caused a debate about people's rights. How do you think the authors of these texts would respond to that debate? So that's interesting. What do you think the Supreme Court would think about the protests, the Black Lives Matter movement? What do you think that they would rule on certain aspects of that? And then Mr. Allen, how do you think he would feel about that? And so those are some questions to be thinking about. And it's not only the protest over police shootings. There are other issues going on right now, with an election coming up and everything. So, and also the coronavirus, the COVID-19 outbreak, and mask wearing and those types of things. I don't really like to discuss those in class, but you're more than welcome to write about them and write your opinions about them. All right, that's it. The next section of Unit 1, so we read everything that we were supposed to read together. We were supposed to read together in Unit 1. The rest of Unit 1 is independent reading. And there will be times, probably in the next unit, where I will assign you an independent reading. I'm not going to assign one this 6 weeks. This last week is very busy and full for us in here. But you do have 4 different stories that you can read just to have something to read. They're not really long. They're interesting. There's no work to do with them, except it does, give you some things to think about as you're reading it, but you don't have any questions to answer or any of that. So I would encourage you to read 1 or 2 or all of the independent reading selections. They also have to do with our essential question, and will kind of further your, extend your knowledge and skills that we've learned in this unit, and maybe even help you with the unit test. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to cover for today. So if you haven't already done so, go back and complete this critical vocabulary, and then um, do these questions or this question at the bottom. Find two sentences. Well, actually, never mind. You don't have to do that. Y'all can come on in. You don't have to do this part because it asks you to write a letter, and I'm not making you write that letter. So on this part, language convention dashes, just read it, but you don't have to do that. And then the compare and collaborate, I do want you to identify the clues about purpose and the clues about audience, but this is the main thing that I want you to complete, which is these 4 questions. Remember 3 good sentences, correct spelling, grammar, and punctuation, text evidence, and all of those things that we've always talked about when you're answering essay questions, turn the question into a statement, and so on. And that's it. So I will see you this afternoon. Good morning.